may be best if you hear it from somebody first before you decide to make that big move that Hawaii may not be the place for you to live, right? And I understand that, everybody says this all the time. When I say, oh, well, where are you from? And I say Hawaii, they're like, oh my God, you're so lucky, all these things. That may not be the case for everybody else, right? There's a high cost of living, it's hot, it might be a culture shock. There's tons of things about Hawaii that you may not have experienced when you visited here or that you've read online. There's tons of things that are going on here in the state, and you know what I mean? It also depends on which island you decide that you might want to live on. Hawaii may not be the place for you to live, okay? And that's a tough realization to come through. Even as much as living in paradise might sound like a dream come true, it may not be a dream come true for you. So in this video, we're actually going to go over 15 things about Hawaii that you may decide, you know what, Ryan, that you're right, that isn't for me. Or you're like, these 15 things really don't bother me and I would love to live there. And we're going to get after it right now. What's going on, you guys? My name is Ryan Strong. I'm a real estate agent out here in Hawaii on Oahu. And if you're new to this channel is all about living in Hawaii. I've lived out here since I was a kid. I grew up here, moved here when I was very young. I've also moved here 3 times. This entire channel is about my experiences, what I've experienced living in Hawaii, the friends that I have, their experiences, the culture in Hawaii, everything about Hawaii. So go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell if you want to stay up to date on all the new videos that I post out. Anytime one comes out, you're going to get a notification saying, hey, look, Living in Hawaii posted a new video, you might want to see this. So you can go ahead and do that. And if you are moving to Hawaii or buying a house in Hawaii, you can go ahead and reach out to me, give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email, however you want to get a hold of me, all right? I got your back when moving to Hawaii. Jumping right into it, let's go ahead and start with number 1, and that it is hot. All right, we're going to talk about the weather here a little bit. It is hot. We do have the tropical paradise type of weather. We are on an island. There is an ocean breeze. There's salt in the air. But the reason I bring up the weather, number 1, if you don't want to be hot most of the time, then Hawaii might not be for you. If you enjoy having the 4 seasons of summer, spring, fall, winter, you want to see snow, you want to see all the leaves turn orange, fall off, and then you want to see the snow fall. You want to be cold, you have a ton of cold weather clothes, and you just enjoy that type of weather. Hawaii doesn't have that necessarily. It does snow on the mountaintops. There's in Maui and Big Island, but as far as anywhere else, and like thick snow on the ground anywhere else, not happening. So it's hot pretty much year round. We're gonna pull up some data here so you can see that, even in the summertime, our averages, these are averages, is 85. That's not to say it doesn't get 90 and above to the 100, but we do have the tropical ocean breeze and things happening. And the winter time is my favorite because I've lived here and I've grown up here. So the winter weather is my favorite as far as the chill that it gets at night, early morning, which is the low to mid 50s. And then during the day, it's like a 75-degree breeze. It's amazing. So that's number 1. If you don't want to be hot all the time, it might not be for you. If you enjoy those 4 seasons, it might not be for you. If you don't mind living in paradise and tropical weather, Hawaii's got you there. 2 is it's far from the mainland, and that's another obvious one. We are 8 major islands out here in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, literally between Japan and Asia and that side of the world, and then the United States and that side of the world. We're like almost smack dab in the middle. But the reason I say that it's far from mainland, not to give you a geography lesson, is because your friends and family may say that, oh, don't worry about it, we'd love to come visit you in Hawaii and all these things, we'll come visit all the time, and that most likely is not going to happen. A lot of people save up money to make that once-in-a-lifetime trip to Hawaii, that once-in-a-lifetime vacation out here. And so to think that, maybe your family will save up or come out here pretty regularly, for one, you got to think about the flights from the California coast. You're looking at, a 5-hour flight. If you're talking East Coast, if you're doing direct, that can be anywhere from 11 to 13-hour direct flights, or the stops in between. It's just a lot of traveling and can take a toll on the body, and things can happen. So to think that your family is just gonna come and visit you all the time, probably not gonna happen. And then you got to think about, well, ordering things, right? So as far as being isolated out here, we only have what we have. If the ships don't bring anything in or things don't come in on the plane, then we don't have anything. I say all this to get to basically you ordering your Amazon packages and whatnot. So we are actually, there is an Amazon fulfillment facility coming out here, but as far as your packages and things like that, they are going to take a long time. And a lot of times, some places like big furniture stores and things like that, because of the size of the items, they won't even ship out here because it costs so dang much to ship something like that out here. So you gotta take that in consideration too before you do make the move out here, or something to consider about should you even move out here at all. Number 3 is our traffic problem. Holy crap. Sometimes I've been talking to, I was actually in North Shore the other day and talking to some tourists when I was eating at a bar, and I was telling them, we have a really bad traffic problem here, and a lot of us that live here or grew up here know it, and we plan our days around it. Actually talking to the bartender, and I was eating at Cholo's in Haleiwa, and asked her where she lived, and she said Sunset, which is a little bit further up North Shore. It's supposed to be maybe a 15-minute drive north up the island. She told me she was moving to Kauai, and I'll get into another reason, one of the other numbers here on this video, about another story with her, but she was like, it literally took me 55 minutes to get from here, this place, Cholo's, where I was eating, which is supposed to be 15 to 20 minutes north, 55 minutes to get home from work the other night. I was like, oh my goodness, that's insane. And then you know what I had already planned for that day? Because I was in North Shore. I was in North Shore, and I already knew that I needed to leave North Shore by 2 o'clock, and this was on a Friday, so that's actually cutting it close, because we got Pauhana, we got Aloha Friday, everybody gets off early, he's trying to get off early. So I knew that I needed to leave North Shore by 2 to start heading down south, because if I caught H1 at a bad time because I needed to head farther west, it was going to be a nightmare. So better believe I was out of there when I said I was going to be out of there, because we plan our days around this stuff. Traffic is horrible out here. So something to consider if you're looking to live in a place that isn't crowded and doesn't have a ton of traffic and those types of things. Something to definitely consider. Number 4, this one may seem like a small thing, but it depends on what kind of car you have as well. If you're bringing your massive lifted truck out here and all those things, and trust me, people got them out here. I don't know where they park them, but number 4 is parking. Parking is insane, all right? And I'm talking everywhere. So one of the things about the community where I live, like, you are not allowed to park on some people call it a parking pad or a parking apron. Basically where your garage ends and the little driveway strip that you have behind your garage, you are not allowed to park there, because the HOA owns, not the HOA, but the HOA is in control of basically everything outside of your land where your garage and stuff ends, right? That's considered your parking apron. You're not allowed to park there. That's crazy. Street parking is nuts here. If you go to town, you're most likely paying to park wherever you can find parking. There's maybe 1 or 2 free lots. I know the zoo is one of the main ones that a lot of people try to get to. But even if you're trying to go to places like Hanauma Bay for snorkeling, if you're trying to go to North Shore where I was, holy crap, North Shore was insane the other day. I got lucky at Sharks Cove. I got a parking spot, got to stop, got to do some filming. That was lucky for me. And then parking is just insane no matter where you go on this island. So maybe, if you're not coming here with a car and you don't mind Ubering or taking the bus, cool. But parking is definitely a hassle. Number 5, we're going to talk about the culture. All right. It may be a culture shock for you when you come out here. Okay. Now, for me, I moved out here when I was a kid. I didn't know anything, and I didn't really care. It didn't bother me at all. It doesn't bother me today. I am very grateful that I grew up in a place that is a melting pot of cultures. Super grateful for it. My wife is Japanese mixed, and she's born and raised here, and we have kids, and I couldn't be more grateful for growing up in this type of environment. Now, I am originally from the South, and I know people still from the South, and I know people who are just so accustomed to the certain type of people that they are used to being around all the time, and they move somewhere, or they grew up, you know what I mean? They grew up in one place their entire life. Even people here, they grew up here their entire life, have never experienced in another culture anywhere else, and they just get culture shock. So we are a melting pot of cultures. It is actually more Asian influence dominance out here now. Above 30% now is the consensus data of the Asian inspired influence. And so definitely something to consider as far as if you're okay with that before you make your move out here to Hawaii. There's going to be a melting pot of cultures, people who don't speak the same language as you, people from all over the world are here in Hawaii trying to make a way of life and enjoying paradise. And number 6 is the education system. This one's a big one for me because, like I just said, I have 2 kids too. So if you have kids and you're moving out here with your family, the education system is not the best, but it's not the worst, at least not to my knowledge. So you got to do your own due diligence on this one. There's websites like niche.com or greatschools.org where you can do your research and you can see how the schools are. They have their own ratings, and there's no one website that literally has like the definitive rating of schools in a state type of thing. This is, you know, based on reviews and sort of public data and public knowledge. So I'm just going to tell you, in general, the schools are not the best. Most of the time, if people can afford to send their kids to private school and get a private education, they do. Something to consider, okay, when you are looking at all this data and all these things and you're looking at schools out here. But if we do look at some of the rankings online and public knowledge, right, then you can just see for yourself that Hawaii doesn't necessarily rank in the top for education. A lot of times out here, parents, not necessarily parents, but people are just more focused on living life, enjoying the way of life, the customs out here, and being outdoors. So it may not always seem like it's a top priority, but that's, again, you got to do your own due diligence on that one. Number 7, it is crowded. Okay, well, mainly where I live on Oahu. And I want to go back to that bartender's story where I was eating at Cholo's, and matter of fact, because I was talking to her about it and stuff, and she's like, yeah, I'm actually moving to Kauai. And I was like, oh, why are you going there? She's like, it's getting too packed here. So she was like, the reason I even live up in Sunset, which is North Shore, was for the isolation. She preferred not to be near town because if you go even watch that video where I do the vlog tour of some of North Shore, you can see how crowded it is up there. But she decided to live up there for the isolation so she wouldn't be near Waikiki and all that madness and all those tourists. And that's about an hour plus drive too. But she was looking for that, and now it's just chaotic everywhere, and she's like, I gotta go. So it is crowded here. This is one of the things that I always say too, is it seems like they're trying to pack as much stuff in this island as they can, as many things as they can into one tiny little space. Especially on Oahu, the development seems to never stop. There's construction everywhere, and then again, most of the tourists know, like you'll hear Waikiki, Honolulu, places that everybody knows. So typically when you start looking up Hawaii, the first thing that you're gonna see is these spots, and that's here on Oahu. This is the main tourist destination. It is the most populous island. It is where the business hub is. It is where most of the jobs are. And so we get pretty crowded here. It's pretty crowded. Like I said, if you watch the Waikiki vlog, if you watch the North Shore vlog, if you watch the Kailua vlog, any of these, you'll see pretty much, like, you'll get us to like, wow, it's pretty packed there. The Waikiki, when I went back to Waikiki Beach, I was like, oh, this is nuts. Like, we had literally just entered tier 4 or about to enter tier 4, which means we're reopening from after all the craziness. And so of 2020 and 2021, beginning of 2021. So yeah, it's been crazy. It's pretty crowded. Number 8 is gonna be what I call island fever, and this kind of goes back to, you know, your family being far, but island fever is real. And so we get asked this all the time, what's it like living out here? You know, do you kind of get sick of being on an island? You can't do much, excuse me, as far as you can't get in the car, you can't go on the road trips, all that stuff. Island fever is real. A lot in my family, so my wife and I, we go to Vegas twice a year. And we also try to plan another trip with our kids. So we typically leave the island about 3 times a year. You just got to get away because, you know what I mean? There's no way for us to get in the car and just go on a road trip. So this is what we do. We get away because we're stuck on this rock, and you have to get in a plane to leave. You have to get in the flight, and it costs a lot to leave. So island fever is real. All of my wife's family travels a bunch. They go, obviously, Vegas trips. Vegas is known as the ninth island, if you didn't know that or you've never heard that. And most of the locals that you will talk to, they typically do take trips to get off island. And you'll start to hear a lot more that a lot of local families do have mainland family. They go visit their mainland family, get their mainland feel, and then come back to paradise. So island fever is real, and that's something to consider with the isolation of being in islands. Okay, number 9 is going to be employment. And so it's a tough job market out here. Number one thing would be for the employment is that it is a heavy tourist-based industry. We got rid of, not all, but essentially all of our agriculture, income and economy. So we are a tourist-heavy based economy, much like Vegas kind of is, right? So we rely on tourists coming here, spending money, that industry being open, those hotels being open for the locals that do work at these hotels and restaurants. Those are some of the biggest industries out here. And so employment opportunities are hard to come by. But again, I do help people moving out here all the time who are moving out here for work. I've been recently on a call with some people who are moving out here, got jobs in medical fields and things like that. But the employment is tough. A lot of times you might end up finding yourself having to work your way up the totem pole. You're gonna have to start at the bottom, and you're gonna have to prove yourself, and you're gonna have to work your way up. So employment can be pretty tough, and even starting a small business out here, if you're planning on coming out here to start a business, Hawaii likes to support local. And so right away, I mean, you're not local, and you may never be accepted as local, and you just have to be okay with that. But once you earn the trust of the locals and you get the support of local business, then you'll be golden. But it takes some time and it takes some patience for sure. You're coming out here and just starting up some business out of nowhere may not be in your best interest. Next 2 that we're going to talk about, so number 10 is going to be your money won't go as far, and number 11 is going to be the cost of housing. But going to number 10, which would be your money won't go as far. And what do I mean by that? Well, out here in Hawaii, data and all the Consensus Bureau, all that stuff, polls say typically you're going to need to make about $150,000 a year to live comfortably out here. Now, comfortable is a very subjective definition. Comfortable to you may be different than comfortable to somebody else. But that's what is typically said as about $150,000 to live out here. Now, that same $150,000 may only be $75,000 on the mainland, you know what I'm saying? So what you need to live comfortable out here would be 150. You may only need 75 to live somewhere else like Arizona, right? Or Texas. So your money's not gonna go as far. Goods, like we talked about, most of our goods are shipped in here. So, matter of fact, I just bought milk and I put it on my Instagram story. You guys can check me out on Instagram. It's at RYN Real Estate, in Real Estate. But on my Instagram, I put that on there, and I was at the store with my son, and we bought a half gallon of milk for $4.69. I was like, oh my goodness. We actually got gas the other day too, $3.49 for a gallon of gas, and that was at Costco. So yeah, your money is just not gonna go as far out here. Everything is more expensive because everybody's got to get products shipped in, and then we got to keep prices higher to even keep our profit margins, right? So you got to think about those things, which leads me into number 11, which is our cost of living. And so it's 2020 and 2021 has done crazy things to the housing market. Out here is no different, where your single family home prices are now above $1 million. Your condo townhome prices are roughly around the $500,000 range. These are averages. Average $1 million, average $500,000 ish. That's approximate because of the fluctuations of the market. So I don't want to give you an exact number, but you can expect those type of prices, and it all depends too on the size and the location. but even the average rent now is approximately around $2,200 a month on the average rent, okay? My wife and I, we used to rent a small apartment slash townhome or condo, whatever you want to call it, a 2-bedroom, 1-bath. It was about 745 square feet. We rented that for $2,000 a month before we were able to upgrade. So, yeah, that's a little bit of perspective on that. Again, it does depend on the area, the style of living, the size of home, and those types of things. Okay. Now, if you're looking for a single family home, ocean front, depends on where the ocean is or the beach is, honestly. You can expect Kailua or Lanikai to have the most expensive beachfront homes. That beach, then I would say down in Hawaii Kai and then Waikiki. But if you're looking if you go beachfront home on the west side, out there in Makaha, it's gonna be a little bit cheaper. If you go farther north into Kaneohe or even on North Shore, it can be a little cheaper. So, but it all depends on that type of stuff, right? Location, size, all these things, right? Location, location, location. But our housing costs are going through the roof, especially with, you know, the lumber prices and what has happened with those recently. So things to consider if you're talking about moving out here and buying a house, which I can definitely help you out with. Okay, number 12 is island time. Now this is a kind of a funny one. If you're coming from a place like New York or California or maybe even South Florida, yeah, I can think of like, you know, out here you could be sitting at a light and the light could fully pass through a red light and you didn't go when it was green. You know what I mean? Like you're sitting there, you were on your phone or you're just looking out the window and the light turns green, you don't go. And then it turns red again, you're like, oh, I missed that one. And nobody, you looking like, oh, people are behind me and nobody honked. And that's kind of how it is out here. Yeah, so with island time, it's just, people are not in a rush. People are not, you know what I mean? Especially like if you're looking at, you need some documents or the DMV, these types of things. People are just not in a rush to do things out here. It's pretty laid back, chill environment. We'll get to it when we get to it. Relax, no worries. Like it's a very laid back environment. So if you're used to fast paced city life, kind of like that, Hawaii may not be for you, right? So if you come here from that environment too, just don't expect for people to adapt to you. Oh, this guy moves fast-paced guy. No, they're gonna be like, bruh, chill, slow down. It's okay. We're here, we're alive, we're in paradise. Just relax. It's okay. We'll get it done. So that's the type of vibe with that. Number 13 is the bugs. And now I know there's bugs everywhere. It depends on where you go and the type of bugs that you will see. Hawaii's got like a different breed of bugs. It's crazy, it's wild, it's some stuff you'll never see like it's anywhere else. It's crazy. The roaches are massive, like roaches flying around, giant mega cockroaches just flying around. It's insane. And it doesn't even matter how clean like you think you are. The roaches are just insane, and it's because of the moist environment and the areas that they like to be. But if you're not a clean person, then it's going to be 10 times worse for you. So like termite in pest control is big out here, especially for termites. But roaches, having them come out and spray, especially around your house. One of the things that you may notice around homes is sometimes people will cement the border, like a 1 or 2 foot border around the outside edge of their home. This also helps with termites and bugs. Or they will have sort of like a rock or gravel that is laid out around. So again, these types of things help with termites and bugs. Centipedes, these are spawns of Satan. When I lived in Makakilo, oh man, there's centipedes up there, just crazy. These little creatures can be really, really long, and they got the little tinkly things. One time I was walking my dogs, and I wasn't paying attention where I was walking, like I wasn't looking at the ground, I was looking out. Apparently I stepped on a centipede, and when I stepped on the centipede, like this part is my heel hit the centipede, and this is my heel. The centipede curled up and went up the backside of my leg. Feeling I will never forget, made my skin like literally crawl, and I get this feeling like, that thing crawled up my leg, and I shook my leg real fast and ran away with my dogs. You don't want those things to sting you. If you do, like if you get bit by a centipede, you may have to go to the hospital. That thing is painful. Oh boy, don't let that happen. So number 14 is going to be the military and the military presence. Now, I am a veteran. I'm a combat veteran. I've served my country. I served for 4 years. The reason that I bring this up is because Hawaii, the whole state in entirety, has over 14 military installations, okay? A lot of those are here on Oahu. I have a video that actually is for military members PCSing out here, but it talks about a lot of the main bases out here, and I sort of plot them on a map so that people can get an idea of where these things are at. But there is a huge military presence here on Oahu and here in the state of Hawaii. One of the more historic, tragic events of Pearl Harbor happened here, right? If you go to Pearl Harbor, you can still see they left some sites up that still have bullet holes and things like that around the Pearl Harbor area that you can see. So there is a very strong military presence here. We've got all of them. We got Air Force, we got Army, Navy, Marines, then of course we all got our Hawaii State National Guard, and then you got Triple Army Medical Center and all these. There's a tons of different areas. So there's a very strong military presence. Maybe you were in the military and you had a bad experience and you want to be like nowhere near any military at all, like, or you're just sick of it. Like then we're probably not the place for you, because we do have a ton of bases and a strong military presence out here. So something to consider. If you don't mind being around military and you're very proud American and proud, and like me, I'm very patriotic, then yeah, definitely we got plenty of military and friendlies out here. So we like to have you. Last but not least is number 15, natural disasters. Our natural disasters are almost unlike anywhere else in the United States, okay? We are, again, in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, and a lot of times earthquakes in Japan or somewhere else can really, shake the Earth's crust and stuff and send basically tidal waves or tsunamis. So I've never experienced a tsunami. What I have experienced is numerous tsunami warnings, because they tend to die out before they actually make it. But that's not to say that they aren't out there in the ocean, and we do get the warnings. Excuse me. So tsunamis is a natural disaster that you've got to consider and be okay with if you're thinking about making that move. We have volcanoes. So there is active volcano on the Big Island, and so if you're thinking about living on the Big Island, that's something you've got to think about. There's a volcano erupting, lava flowing, like legit lava flowing. It's in the news. You can go check it out. So yeah, think about that. We actually do have a hurricane season. It's the same season as Florida, but we get hurricanes that come basically, it seems like they come from, I want to say like United States side of the Pacific, and they come up towards the Big Island first usually. But we do have a hurricane season every year. We end up, either taking a small hit from a hurricane or dodging them. Thankfully dodging them. But that's when everybody's big rush to Costco or to Sam's to stack up on which was toilet paper apparently last year. And then water supplies, generators, all that type of stuff. So we do have a hurricane season as well out here. So natural disasters are just different than most other places in the United States, but it's very unique. I love Hawaii. I choose to raise my family here in Hawaii. I grew up in Hawaii, and like I said, I couldn't be more grateful that I did in the culture and the environment and the experience of growing up here versus the alternatives that were there or that could have happened. Thankfully they didn't. I absolutely love Hawaii. I love Hawaii, and these are 15 reasons why it may not be for you, but this is also 15 reasons why it may be for you. And these are things that you're just okay with, and you're like, he said he never experienced a tsunami, so it's nothing to worry about. Maybe. But if you are moving to Hawaii, you can shoot me a text, you can give me a call, you can send me an email. People are reaching out all the time, and you can do just the same. Reach out, give me that call, shoot me that text. You can schedule a Zoom down in the description. However you want to get a hold of me, I got your back when moving to Hawaii. I got some other videos that I talked about in this video. I've done vlog tours. I go out to the areas with the camera and I hold it up and we talk. I show you the areas. I let you know what I think of them, what the people there think of them, what they're like, what the houses are like, what the homes are like. So you can go check some of those out. We've got an entire playlist of living in Hawaii. So I'm gonna have some other videos that I just talked about that are gonna be popping up right now.